So I'm gonna redo my revisit thoughts on Snuff, aka the Slaughter and American Cannibal, 1971/1975/1976. So I actually really like this film way better than the first time because at first I used to hate this film, but not anymore. Because I do realize that it's almost the same kind of movie as either Last House on the Left, a Serbian film, or maybe I Spit on Your Grave. So that's the thing I can say about this movie. So first, let's start with my pros. The story, the characters, the blood effects, because sometimes it was actually normal for the 70s when sometimes it was dark, sometimes it was light red. So yeah, that's awesome. Like, it's basically like Dracula AD, or maybe Madman, or Don't Go in the Woods Alone, where the blood was basically light red, and those other movies where the blood is basically darker. So that's awesome. The ending is basically the exact same thing as Snuff 102, because Snuff 102 is where this guy kills two women. Those count as snuff scenes, but those are not real either. So it's the exact same as the ending in this movie. It counts as a snuff scene, but it's not real. You have cameras filming them. Yeah, you see that you have cameras filming the murder. So that's cool. So maybe that's why this movie is called Snuff, because of the ending. Like, it's the same thing as Snuff 102. Get it? So yeah, that's another pro I can come up with this. And the gun shooting effects. If I forgot to mention the English dubbing/acting, yeah, another pro I came up with this is the most of the English dubbing/acting, because from what I've heard, it was normal for those 70s kung fu movies, because most of them had bad acting and off-sync English dub. So from what I've heard, it was actually normal for those movies. So it is the exact same thing as this movie. Like, I don't understand why people didn't criticize the acting in those movies, but in this movie. Like, what is the difference between the English dubbing/acting in this movie and those 70s kung fu movies? I just don't get it. Like, what's the difference? So that's another pro I can come up with this movie. Now let's get to the negatives. It only has two issues. So number one, yes, I mentioned that the English dubbing/acting was normal, just like those kung fu movies, but but sometimes it sounded just even more off when you compare it to this movie and those movies. It just made it sound a bit silly, in my opinion. And number two, for some reason, one of the girl's fingers has been reattached after being cut off during the ending. Like, the guy just cut the woman's finger off with the scissors, and then like the next clip, you can see it's reattached to her hand. So I thought that was pretty weird. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie, so I'm gonna give this a 7.5 out of 10, which means 4 out of 5 stars.